This is way too high. Hi! How is everyone doing today? My name is Theo The Bunny, and welcome to Theo Reads Bedtime Stories. I'm so glad you could join me today. So this is a new month, September, I think it is what we call it nowadays. We thought it would be fun to do like a theme version of Theo Reads, where it's like children's fairy tales, because they're cute and they're fun. I just thought it would be nice. So today, we're gonna do Little Red Riding Hood. It's a fun story. There's some, I don't want to spoil it, but there's like an animal in it, and red, and stuff like that. And I thought it also would be fun if I recited it from memory, because we don't have the book. So, gonna see how it goes. Okay, so as always, like any good fairy tale, it starts with a once upon a time. Yes, once upon a time. Okay, so there was this little girl, and she lived in this village near a forest. I don't remember if the forest had a name, but she was there. So whenever she would leave, though, when she'd go outside, she'd always wear this red hood. And everyone kind of just nicknamed her Little Red Riding Hood. Which, if you think about it, maybe she was short, so little wasn't, the nicest nickname. Could have given her like a complex. So, don't pick on people. So anyway, one morning, Little Red Riding Hood asked her mom if she could go visit her grandma. Because it's been a while since she'd seen her, since her grandma lived super far away in the creepy, scary woods. And her mom was like, I guess that's a good idea. You could go. And since it was a long time ago, kids were just able to go out on their own and wander around as much as they want without adult supervision. So, Little Red Riding Hood and her mom, they packed up a nice basket of goodies for Little Red, that's what we'll call her, Red, to take to her grandma's house so she could eat them. And when it was all packed up, Little Red Riding Hood, or Red, Little Red as we call her, she put on her red cloak and she headed out the door and said, "Bye, Mom! I'll see you when I get back." Since there's no phones or anything, and letters take years to arrive, you won't know if I made it safely. And then her mom yelled back, "Remember, Little Red, go straight to Grandma's house. Don't dwaddle." Dwaddle? Oh man. I'm glad the English language has evolved where we do not need to use the word dwaddle anymore. But anyway, she's like, don't hang around and talk to strangers and be safe because the woods are super dangerous. But I'm gonna let you go anyway without adult supervision. And Little Red Riding Hood's like, "Don't worry, Mom, I'm gonna be careful because I'm only like 8. So anyway, Little Red Riding Hood, she leaves and she's skipping along. La 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 la, I'm skipping, head to Grandma's house with some basket of goodies. And she noticed the flowers in the woods because, it's the woods and there's foliage. So she's looking at the flowers and she forgot that she had told her mom she'd go straight there. So she picked a few flowers. Then she noticed a butterfly. And then she's listening to the frogs croaking and she's picking some more flowers. And eventually she kind of forgets what she's doing. And she's just kind of enjoying a nice summer day in the woods all by herself when all of a sudden there was a shadow. A shadowy figure. Oh no, who could it be? It was the wolf. Oh, the big bad wolf. The one from the 3 Little Pigs? No. This is a different wolf. Maybe he wasn't a big bad wolf, but a wolf just the same. And he's all like, hey, what are you doing out here, little girl with the red cloak? Trying to be as, friendly as possible and talkative. Just striking up some conversation like a polite person would do. And Little Red Riding Hood, being brought up on manners and politeness as well, responds to the wolf, I'm on my way to Grandma's house, who lives in the forest near the brook. But then internalized, maybe I should not give out her exact address. So, realizing that maybe she had given away too much, she excuses herself nicely and then darts down the path like a fast bunny. Because, you really should talk to strangers, especially if it is a wolf, especially if it is a wolf that can talk, because in no situation is that ever good. So the wolf's like, I'm gonna take a shortcut, because she was descriptive enough to know where she was going. And the wolf soon arrived at Grandma's house, and he knocked on the door. Like if you were to knock. And Grandma, just kind of assumed it was someone she knew, and she's like, because no one would ever knock on my door if they didn't know that I lived here. And she's all like, come on in and make yourself at home. And the wolf let himself in, but before Grandma could say another word, the wolf ate her. Oh no! Grandma has been eaten by the wolf. I'm kind of excited to see what happens, but I guess if I'm reciting the story, I already know what happens? Whoa, Twilight Zone, let us continue. Now, after eating a relatively large meal, the wolf let out a burp. And then he went through Grandma's things, like any intruder would, and found a nice nightgown he liked. And he put on a little sleeping cap, and for good measure, he put a little of Grandma's perfume down his pointy ears and laid down in Grandma's bed. A few minutes later, Little Red Riding Hood arrived at Grandma's house, and she knocked on the door. And the wolf, in his best grandma impression, after only spending just a brief moment with her, said, "Who is it?" "It's me, Little Red Riding Hood," said Little Red Riding Hood. "Oh, how lovely," croaked the wolf. "Do come in, my dear," as he rubbed his paws together in excitement. Rub, 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 rub. When Little Red Riding Hood entered the little cottage, she could scarcely recognize her grandmother, and she exclaimed, "Grandma, your voice sounds so odd. Is something the matter?" she asked. "Oh, I just have a touch of a cold," squeaked the wolf, adding a cough at the end of the point. "But Grandma, what big ears you have," said Little Red Riding Hood, as she got a little closer. And the wolf said, "The better to hear you with, my dear." "But Grandma," said Little Red Riding Hood, "what big eyes you have." And the wolf was like, "Man, hasn't anyone ever told you that, if you don't have something nice to say, not to say anything at all?" But instead of saying that, he just said, "What better way to see you?" And Little Red Riding Hood goes, "Whoa, Graham! Check out those choppers you got. When's the last time you've been to the dentist?" And the wolf was fed up with all of Little Red Riding Hood's questioning and jumped out of bed and revealed himself to be the wolf and started to chase her around. And if he caught her, he was gonna eat her too. So Little Red Riding Hood's running around the house in frantic panic, screaming, "Help! Help me! Help!" This dude's walking by and he's like, "Oh man, I hear someone crying for help." And luckily he was a huntsman. And I'm gonna do the nice version ending of this story, because if you read the original, it's a little weird about how detailed and graphic they go into a children's fairy tale about what happens to the wolf. So anyway, the hunter, he stopped the wolf from eating Little Red Riding Hood, and he knocks the wolf out. Then they proceed to squeeze the wolf like a roll of toothpaste until Grandma pops out of his mouth. Again, which is kind of weird. And then the grandma is like, oh man, I do need a new rug. And the wolf becomes her rug. But we won't go through that process. And she invites the hunter to stay for tea. And they eat all of the goodies that Little Red Riding Hood brought. And they laugh about, oh, what fun they had today. And it's a weird ending, and we're just gonna stop there. So, thank you for joining me on Theo Reads a Bedtime Story. I hope you enjoyed that one, and next week we'll do another fairy tale story. So, have a good night, and we'll see you next week. Bye!